There is a law operating in your life right now that you cannot see, but it sees everything you say. It doesn't care about your intentions. It doesn't negotiate with your fears. It simply obeys your word exactly as you speak it. A man once told me he was just getting by, and for 3 years, that's all he got. The day he changed one sentence, his salary doubled. Not gradually, not through hard work, through rearrangement. I'm going to show you the sentence that commands this law, and why speaking it tomorrow morning will put every invisible force in your life on your side. Now I know what you're thinking. You've heard about the power of words before. You've tried affirmations. You've written things down. You've visualized and believed and let go and held on, and still, nothing has fundamentally changed. And I understand that frustration because I've seen it in the eyes of every person who's ever sat across from me, desperate for an answer that actually works. But here's what I need you to understand. Right from the start, what I'm teaching you today isn't positive thinking. It's not about feeling good or hoping hard enough. This is about a metaphysical law as reliable as gravity, and once you understand how to work with it, your entire world can reorganize itself overnight. Let me tell you why you need to stay with me for the next hour, because this isn't just another inspirational talk. This is instruction. The reason your good hasn't come yet, the money, the health, the relationship, the opportunity, isn't because you don't deserve it. It's not because God is testing you. It's not because you haven't worked hard enough or believed deeply enough. The reason your good hasn't come is because of one sentence you keep repeating, probably without even realizing it, that is actively pushing it away from you. One sentence. And today I'm going to help you identify it, replace it, and activate the law that will bring your good to you by tomorrow. Not next month, not when you're ready. Tomorrow. Because divine timing doesn't mean someday. Divine timing means now. And the universe doesn't wait for you to feel confident or worthy. It waits for you to speak with authority. That's what we're doing here today. I'm teaching you to stop asking and start claiming. To stop describing your lack and start commanding your supply. And if that sounds bold or even a little bit dangerous to the version of you that's been playing small, good. That means we're getting somewhere. Here's the core pain I know you're carrying, and I'm going to name it directly so you know I see you. You're exhausted from trying. You've done everything you were told to do. You've been patient. You've been faithful. You've surrendered and released and aligned your chakras and raised your vibration, and yet when you look at your bank account or your body or your calendar, nothing has fundamentally shifted. And the worst part is, you've started to wonder if maybe it's you. Maybe you're broken. Maybe you're cursed. Maybe you're the exception to the rule. Maybe God just doesn't hear you the way He hears other people. And I'm here to tell you no, that is not the truth. The truth is far simpler and far more fixable than you think. You are not broken. You are not cursed. You are not the exception. You've just been speaking against yourself without knowing it, and the moment you stop doing that and start speaking correctly, everything changes. Not because you became more worthy, but because you finally aligned your word with the law that's been waiting to serve you all along. Now here's what makes this teaching different from everything else you've heard. I'm not going to tell you to manifest or co-create or raise your frequency. Those are modern inventions, and most of them are just watered-down versions of the original law I'm about to teach you. What I'm sharing comes from decades of watching this principle work in real lives, with real people, in real circumstances. I've seen fortunes appear, I've seen bodies heal, I've seen relationships restore overnight. Not because someone wished hard enough, but because they finally spoke the sentence that activated divine law in their favor. And divine law doesn't care about your past. It doesn't care about your mistakes or your doubts or how many times you've failed before. Divine law is impersonal. It operates like electricity. You flip the switch, the light comes on. You speak the word, the good appears. It's that mechanical, that reliable, that available to you right now, in this moment, regardless of what your circumstances look like. So let me give you the framework we're working with today, because I want you to understand the structure before we dive into the details. First, I'm going to tell you several stories, real stories about real people whose lives completely changed the moment they changed one sentence. These aren't parables or metaphors. These are documented cases that prove the law I'm teaching. Then I'm going to break down the mechanics of how your word actually creates your reality, why most people's words keep failing them, and what you have to do differently starting tomorrow morning. And finally, I'm going to give you the exact sentence to speak, how to speak it, and what to watch for in the next 24 hours as proof that the law is already responding to you. This is going to take some time, and I'm not going to rush it because the depth of understanding you gain here will determine whether this works for you or whether you go back to your old patterns. So settle in. Turn off distractions. This is about to be the most important hour you've spent in a very long time. Let me start with the woman who waited 17 years. I need you to hear this story carefully because I guarantee some part of her struggle is your struggle too. She came to me in complete despair. She was talented, educated, connected, everything on paper said she should have been successful by now. She had trained for a specific kind of work, something she loved deeply, something she felt called to do. And for 17 years, she prepared. She took courses, she networked. She sent out applications, she waited for the right door to open, and nothing happened. Every door stayed shut, every opportunity evaporated, every promising lead dissolved into nothing. By the time she sat down with me, she wasn't just discouraged. She was angry. Angry at God. Angry at life. Angry at herself. She said to me, "I've done everything right. I've been faithful. I've been patient. I've surrendered. I've let go. I've held on. Why won't God give me my chance?" And I could hear the pain in her voice because this wasn't just about a job. This was about her purpose. This was about whether her life meant anything at all. 17 years of preparation with nothing to show for it feels like a verdict, like the universe looked at you and said, "No, not you, you don't get to have this." But here's what I noticed immediately. The pain in her voice wasn't the problem. The anger wasn't the problem. The problem was in her words. So I asked her one simple question. I said, "When people ask you about your work, what do you say?" And without hesitation, without even thinking about it, she answered, "I say I'm waiting for the right door to open." There it was. Not in her heart, not in her faith, not in her preparation, in her mouth. She had been declaring her waiting for 17 years. Every time someone asked, every time she thought about it, every time she prayed, she was speaking her condition, not her desire. She was announcing her delay, not her arrival. And the universe, which is a perfect mirror, which has no opinions but only obedience, gave her exactly what she kept declaring. More waiting, more closed doors, more someday. Now, I need you to understand something critical here. She wasn't lying. At that moment, she was waiting. The doors were closed. That was her reality. But here's when the law. Most people never grasp. Your word doesn't describe reality. It creates reality. When you say, "I'm waiting," you are not reporting a fact. You are issuing a command. You are telling the subconscious mind and the universal law that governs manifestation that waiting is your identity, and so waiting becomes your permanent address. I looked at her and I said, "You have been speaking your delay into existence every single day for 17 years. That's why nothing has opened. Not because God is withholding, not because you're not ready, because your own mouth keeps sealing the door shut." And then I gave her a new sentence. Not an affirmation of hope, not a statement of faith, a declaration of fact from the higher dimension where her perfect work already existed. I said, "Tomorrow morning, before you speak to anyone, before you check your phone, before you do anything else, I want you to say this aloud: the perfect door is open. I walk through it now." She looked at me like I'd asked her to lie. She said, "But it's not open yet." And I said, "That's why it hasn't opened. You're waiting for the door to open so you can believe it." But the law works in reverse. You speak it first, then it opens. You don't wait for evidence and then declare truth. You declare truth, and then evidence appears. She was quiet for a long time. I could see the battle happening inside her. The old identity, the one that had been waiting, preparing, hoping, was fighting against this new possibility. Because if she spoke those words and nothing happened, she'd feel foolish. She'd feel like she was lying to herself. But if she didn't speak them, she already knew what would happen. More of the same. 17 years would become 18, then 19, then 20. So the next morning, she did it. She stood in front of her mirror and she said it aloud. "The perfect door is open. I walk through it now." She told me later that she felt ridiculous. She felt like a child playing pretend. But she said, "It anyway." She spoke it into the room, into the invisible dimension where the law operates. And then she went about her day. She didn't obsess over it. She didn't check her email every 5 minutes. She just let the sentence do its work. That afternoon, not next week, not next month, that same afternoon her phone rang. It was someone she hadn't spoken to in 5 years. A colleague from her past who was now in a position of authority at an organization she'd always wanted to work for. And without any small talk, without any build-up, this person said, "I don't know why you came to mind today, but we have a position that's perfect for you, and if you want it, it's yours." No application, no interview, no competition, just an open door. She took the job. And she called me that evening, stunned, asking how I knew. And I told her, I didn't know. But the law knew. The law always knows. The moment you stopped declaring your waiting and started declaring your arrival, the law rearranged everything necessary to match your word. Now some of you are hearing this and thinking, that's a coincidence, that's luck, that's timing, and that's fine. Think whatever you want. But I've seen this pattern repeat itself hundreds of times over decades of working with people. The law doesn't care whether you believe in it only cares what you say. And the moment you change your sentence, your world begins to reorganize. Let me give you another story, because I want you to see this from a different angle. This one's about a man and his relationship with money. He came to me because no matter how hard he worked, no matter how much he saved, he always felt broke. He had a decent job, a modest income, but every month something would happen. An unexpected bill, a car repair, a medical expense, and all his money would disappear. He said to me, "I feel like I'm cursed. I feel like I'm not supposed to have financial freedom. Every time I get a little bit ahead, something takes it away." And again, I didn't listen to his circumstances. I listened to his words. We were talking one day and he mentioned wanting to take his family on a vacation. He said, "I'd love to take them somewhere nice, but I can't afford it." That phrase, "I can't afford it," came out of his mouth so casually, so automatically, that he didn't even register what he'd said. It was just how he talked. It was his default response to anything he wanted. Can't afford it, don't have the money, wish I could, but I can't. I stopped him right there. I said, "Do you know what you just declared?" He looked confused. He thought he was just stating a fact. And I said, "No, you didn't state a fact, you cast a vote. You told the universe exactly what you wanted more of. You said, 'I can't afford it,' and the universe said, 'Okay, I'll make sure that stays true.'" Now he was getting defensive. He said, "But it's the truth. I literally don't have the money right now." And I said, "In this moment, in this dimension, that might be accurate. But in the realm of infinite supply, in the dimension where all resources exist before they manifest, you already have it. The money for that trip is already prepared. It's already allocated. You're just refusing to claim it." I taught him a new sentence. I said, "Instead of 'I can't afford it,' I want you to say, 'The funds for this trip are mine by divine right. They appear now in perfect ways.'" He resisted. He said, "But that feels like lying." And I said, "No, the lie is that you don't have it. The lie is that you're separate from infinite supply. The lie is that you're at the mercy of circumstances. The truth is, everything you need already exists, and your word is the bridge that brings it from the invisible into the visible." He agreed to try it, though I could see the doubt all over his face. And honestly, that doubt didn't matter. The law doesn't require your belief, it only requires your word. So he went home, and every time he thought about that trip, instead of saying, "I can't afford it," he said, "The funds are mine by divine right. They appear now." He said it in the morning, he said it at night. He said it when fear came, he said it when doubt came. He just kept speaking the sentence, even when his bank account hadn't changed yet. Within 1 week, not a month, not a year, 1 week, he received a notice from the IRS. There had been an error in his taxes from 2 years ago. He'd overpaid. They were sending him a refund, and the amount of that refund was almost to the dollar the exact cost of the trip he wanted to take. He called me and said, "How did you know that was going to happen?" And I said, "I didn't. I had no idea there was a tax refund waiting for him. But the law knew. Infinite intelligence knew. The moment he stopped declaring lack and started claiming supply, the universe found a way, not through hard work, not through struggle, through rearrangement. through divine order, restoring what was always his. Now, here's what I need you to hear in both of these stories. Neither of these people had to become more worthy. Neither of them had to heal their childhood wounds, or fix their mindset, or raise their vibration to some perfect frequency. They just had to stop speaking against themselves and start speaking in alignment with the law. That's it. That's the whole teaching. Your word is the switch. The power is already there. You're just not turning it on because you keep speaking your delay, your lack, your limitation. And before you say, well, that's just two people, those are exceptions, let me tell you, I've seen this work with health, relationships, business, housing, legal matters, family reconciliation. I've seen people speak one sentence, and within days, their entire world shifted. Not because I'm special, not because they're special, because the law is impartial. It works for everyone who learns to work with it. Let me give you one more story before we dive into the mechanics, because this one demonstrates something slightly different about how the law operates. I knew a woman who had a difficult relationship with her sister. They hadn't spoken in over 3 years because of a terrible argument. The kind of fight that leaves scars. The kind where both people feel justified in their anger and neither one wants to be the first to reach out. This woman carried the weight of that broken relationship every single day. She'd think about her sister. She'd feel the pain. She'd rehearse the argument in her mind. And every time someone asked about her family, she'd say, "My sister and I don't speak anymore. We had a falling out. I don't think we'll ever reconcile." That sentence became her reality. "My sister and I don't speak." Every time she said it, she was cementing the separation. She was declaring the permanence of the break. And the universe, which only knows how to say yes to whatever you declare, kept the separation in place. One day, she came to me heartbroken because it was the holidays and the thought of another year without her sister was unbearable. She said, "I want to reach out, but I don't know what to say. Too much has happened, too much hurt." And I said, "The problem isn't what to say to her. The problem is what you've been saying about her. Every time you tell someone you don't speak, you're speaking the separation into permanence. Every time you rehearse the fight, you're keeping it alive. You need to change your word." I gave her a new sentence. I said, "My sister and I are restored to perfect harmony. Love now flows freely between us." She looked at me skeptically. She said, "But that's not true. We're not in harmony. We don't even talk." And I said, "It's not true in this dimension yet. But in the dimension of perfect ideas, in the realm where all relationships exist in their divine design, you and your sister are already healed. You're just making that truth visible by speaking it." She started saying it every morning, every night, every time she thought about her sister, every time someone asked about the situation. "Instead of 'my sister and I don't speak,'" she said, "we are restored to perfect harmony. Love flows freely between us." She said it even when it felt like a lie. She said it even when the anger would rise up. She just kept speaking the new sentence. 3 weeks later, 3 weeks, her phone rang. It was her sister. And before my friend could even say hello, her sister said, "I don't know why I'm calling. I just had this overwhelming feeling that I needed to hear your voice. I miss you. Can we talk?" They talked for hours. They cried. They forgave. They restored what had been broken. And when my friend told me about it, she said, "I can't believe that worked." I said, "Why can't you believe it? You spoke it into being. You declared harmony, and the law arranged the circumstances to match your word." Now notice what happened here. She didn't force her sister to call. She didn't manipulate the situation. She didn't even reach out first. She just changed her word. And in changing her word, she changed the energetic field between them. She dissolved the barrier that her own declarations had built. And once that barrier was gone, love could flow again. This is how powerful your word is. It doesn't just affect you. It affects everyone and everything in your energetic field. When you speak health, you're not just commanding your own body. You're shifting the entire atmosphere around health in your life. When you speak prosperity, you're not just calling money to yourself. You're opening channels that have been blocked. When you speak harmony, you're dissolving walls that seemed permanent. So now let's talk about why it works. Let's talk about the mechanics. Because if you don't understand this deeply, you'll go back to your old way of speaking the moment something challenges you. And I need you to be anchored in this truth so firmly that no circumstance can shake you. Here's the foundational principle. In the beginning was the Word, Not the thought, not the feeling, not the intention. The word. Everything in your visible world started as a spoken or written word in the invisible world. Your body is a word made flesh. Your bank account is a word made manifest. Your relationships are words exchanged and crystallized. You are living in a world made entirely of words. Your words, other people's words, collective words spoken over generations. And every single day, you are either reinforcing that old word structure or you're speaking a new one. Now, most people think words are just descriptive. They think words are how we talk about reality. But that's backwards. Words are creative. They don't describe what is, they command what will be. When you say, "I'm tired," you're not reporting on your energy level, you're draining your energy further. When you say, "I'm broke," you're not describing your bank account, you're commanding it to stay empty. Your subconscious mind, which is the part of you that actually manifests your reality, has no sense of humor. It doesn't know you're just venting. It doesn't know you're exaggerating. It hears your word as an instruction, and it goes to work, making it true. This is why people who constantly complain about their health keep getting sicker. This is why people who always talk about how broke they are never get ahead. This is why people who say relationships never work out keep attracting partners who prove them right. It's not bad luck. It's not a curse, it's law. You are creating with your mouth every moment of every day, and most people are creating more of what they don't want because they keep describing it. Now here's where it gets tricky. You might say, "Okay, I understand that. I'll just start saying positive things. I'll affirm abundance and health and love, and everything will change." But then you try it, and nothing happens. You say, "I am wealthy" 50 times in the mirror, and your bank account doesn't move. You say, "I am healthy," and your symptoms don't go away. And you think, "See, this doesn't work, it's just wishful thinking." But the reason it's not working is because you're speaking the new sentence while still believing the old one. You say, "I am abundant," but in your gut, you feel broke. You say, "I am healed," but in your mind, you're already planning for the illness to continue. And the subconscious doesn't listen to your words when they conflict with your dominant feeling. It listens to the louder signal. And the louder signal is almost always the one you've been repeating the longest. So what do? Do you wait until you feel abundant before you declare it? No, because if you wait for the feeling, you'll wait forever. The feeling comes after the word, not before. This is the mystery most people never grasp. You don't speak what you feel, you speak what you want to create, and the feeling follows. But here's the secret. The sentence I'm about to give you bypasses the belief problem entirely. You don't have to believe it, you don't have to feel it, you just have to speak it as if it's already done. As if you're announcing something that's already happened in a dimension you can't see yet. You're not wishing, you're not hoping. You're reporting from the future that's already complete. This is what Jesus meant when he said, "Whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours." Not believe you will receive it, believe you have received it. Present perfect tense. Already done. The kingdom of heaven is at hand, not coming, at hand, right here, right now. Invisible but present. And your word is the key that unlocks the door between the invisible and the visible. So, let me give you the mechanics broken down step by step. First, there's the realm of infinite supply. This is the invisible dimension where everything already exists. Every healing, every dollar, every relationship, every opportunity. It's all there, fully formed, waiting. You're not creating it, you're claiming it. Second, there's your conscious mind. This is where you make decisions, where you think thoughts, where you speak words. Third, there's your subconscious mind. This is the part of you that actually manifests. It takes whatever the conscious mind impresses upon it and brings it into form. And fourth, there's the visible world. This is where you see the results. Now here's how it's supposed to work. You see something in the invisible realm, a vision, a desire, a knowing. You speak it with your conscious mind as if it's already done. That impression goes into your subconscious, which has no ability to reason or reject. It just says, "Yes, I will make that manifest." And then it rearranges everything in the visible world to match the word you spoke. People move, money appears, doors open, circumstances shift, not because you forced them, because you spoke the word and the law responded. But here's how most people actually operate. They look at the visible world, the empty bank account, the sick body, the closed door. They let that dictate what they say. They say, I'm broke, I'm sick, nothing ever works out. That word impresses the subconscious, which says, yes, I will make that manifest. And it does. And then they look at the result and say, see, I was right, I am broke, I am sick, nothing does work out. And the cycle continues. You have to break the cycle. And the only way to break it is to stop letting the visible world dictate your word. You have to start speaking from the invisible. You have to start declaring what's true in the higher dimension, even when it contradicts what you see in the lower one. You have to say, I am supplied, even when the account is empty. I am healed, even when the symptoms remain. The door is open, even when you can't see it yet, because the moment you speak it, you set the law in motion, and the law doesn't fail. It never fails. It only waits for you to activate it. Now some of you are feeling resistance right now. You're thinking, this sounds like denial. This sounds like I'm supposed to ignore reality and pretend everything is fine. And I need to address that directly because it's the biggest misunderstanding that keeps people stuck. You are not denying reality. You are choosing which reality you're going to feed. There are two realities operating at the same time. There's the reality of appearances, which is the world you see with your physical eyes. And there's the reality of truth, which is the invisible kingdom where all things are already perfect. Most people live entirely in the reality of appearances. They look at the world and they say, this is what's real. The empty account is real. The sickness is real. The closed doors are real. And then they speak accordingly. They describe what they see, and in describing it, they perpetuate it. They lock themselves into that reality. But there's another way. You can acknowledge the appearance without giving it power. You can say, yes, I see the empty account, but I know there's infinite supply in the invisible realm, and I'm speaking to that supply now. You're not pretending the account isn't empty. You're just refusing to let the emptiness be the final word. This is what Jesus did when he stood in front of Lazarus's tomb. Lazarus was dead. That was the appearance. That was the visible reality. But Jesus didn't speak to the appearance. He spoke to the truth. He said, Lazarus, come forth. He didn't say, Lazarus, I hope you wake up. I believe you might wake up. I'm visualizing you waking up. He commanded it, present tense, imperative voice, come forth. And Lazarus came forth. Because the words spoken with authority in alignment with divine law rearranges matter. You have that same authority. You have that same law available to you. The only difference between you and Jesus in that moment is that he knew who he was and what his word could do. He didn't doubt, he didn't waver. He spoke and expected the result. And that's what I'm teaching you to do. Not to become Jesus, but to operate by the same law he demonstrated. Now let me give you some insight into why most people's words don't work, even when they try to speak positively. Because I've seen this pattern over and over, and if I can help you avoid this trap, you'll save yourself years of frustration. The problem is what I call scattered speech. These are people who say one thing in the morning and the opposite thing by afternoon. They declare abundance at their meditation altar and then spend the rest of the day complaining about bills. They affirm health and then immediately start describing their symptoms to anyone who will listen. The subconscious doesn't know which instruction to follow when you're giving it conflicting commands. It's like trying to drive a car with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. You're going to stay stuck. So the solution is consistency. You have to guard your mouth all day long. Not just during your morning affirmation. All day, every conversation, every thought you speak aloud, every sentence that comes out of your mouth needs to align with the truth you declared in the morning. This doesn't mean you become fake or Pollyanna-ish. It means you become intentional. When someone asks how you're doing and you're tempted to say terrible or exhausted or broke, you pause. You choose a different word. You say, I'm well. I'm moving forward. Things are shifting. Those aren't lies. Those are higher truths. And every time you speak a higher truth instead of a lower complaint, you're training your subconscious to manifest from a higher frequency. Let me tell you about a woman I knew who mastered this. She was going through a devastating divorce. Her husband had left her for someone else. She was heartbroken. She was scared about money. She was worried about her children. Every part of her life felt like it was falling apart. And yet, every time someone asked her how she was, she would smile and say, "I'm being taken care of. Everything is working out perfectly." He thought she was in denial. They thought she was avoiding her pain. But I knew what she was doing. She was speaking the truth from the invisible realm. She was declaring divine order, even while her visible world was in chaos. And because she refused to speak the chaos, because she refused to give it power with her words, the chaos couldn't take root. Within 6 months, she had a better job than she'd ever had before. Her children were thriving. She'd met someone new who treated her with respect and kindness. And she told me, the whole time I was speaking those words, "I'm being taken care of, everything is working out," I didn't fully believe them. But I knew if I gave voice to my fear, I'd make it permanent. So I spoke what I wanted to create instead of what I was experiencing. And eventually, my experience caught up to my words. That's the power of consistency. That's what it means to guard your mouth. Not to deny what you're going through, but to refuse to let it be the final word. To keep speaking the truth, even when the lies feel louder. Now let's talk about the sentence. The one sentence that can change your future by tomorrow. And I need you to understand, this isn't magic. This isn't a spell, this is law. When you speak this sentence correctly, you are not manipulating the universe, you are aligning with it. You are tuning in to the frequency where your good already exists, and when you tune in, it tunes into you. Here it is, the sentence. And I want you to pay very close attention to every word, because every word matters. My good now appears, the perfect plan unfolds. That's it, 11 words, 2 sentences. But contained in those 11 words is the entire law of manifestation. Let me break it down for you so you understand exactly what you're activating when you speak this. First word, my. Not someone else's. Not God's decision about whether you deserve it. Yours. You're good. Already allocated. Already prepared. Already waiting for you to claim it. When you say, "my good," you are establishing ownership. You're not begging. You're not asking. You're claiming what's already yours by divine right. Second word, good. Not your desire. Not your wish. Your good. The thing that's perfect for you. The thing that's in alignment with your highest path. This is why you don't have to specify. You don't have to say, "my good," which is a red car and a big house and a specific person. You just say, "good." And infinite intelligence, which knows you better than you know yourself, knows exactly what your good is and delivers it. Third word, now. Not someday, not when you're ready, not when you've earned it. Now. This is the word that collapses time. This is the word that activates divine timing in the present moment. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Your good is at hand. Not coming. Here, you're just making it visible by speaking it. Fourth word, appears. You're not creating it, it already exists, you're making it visible. You're pulling it from the invisible into the visible. This is important because when you try to create something, you're implying it doesn't exist yet. But when you say it appears, you're acknowledging it's already there. You're just the one revealing it. Then the second sentence, the perfect plan unfolds. This is where you surrender the how. You're not telling the universe how to bring your good. You're not forcing a specific outcome. You're saying, "I know there's a perfect plan for my life, and I trust it to unfold in perfect ways." This keeps you from blocking your good by insisting it has to come through one specific channel. Maybe you think your good is that job. But what if your good is actually a better job that you don't even know exists yet? When you say the perfect plan unfolds, you let infinite intelligence handle the details. And infinite intelligence is far more creative than your limited mind. So when you put it all together, here's what you're actually declaring. You're saying, the thing that's mine by divine right, which already exists in perfect form in the invisible realm, is now becoming visible to me in this present moment, and I trust the perfect plan to deliver it in ways I may not expect. That's the law. That's the command. And when you speak it correctly, everything in the invisible realm responds. Doors you didn't know existed start to crack open. People you haven't thought about in years suddenly reach out, ideas drop into your mind, opportunities appear, money shows up, health returns, relationships heal, not because you forced it, because you finally aligned your word with the law that's been waiting to serve you. Now let me tell you what happens in the 24 hours after you speak this sentence. Because this is where most people give up. They say the sentence tomorrow morning, and then by tomorrow afternoon they look around and say, "Nothing changed, this doesn't work." And they go back to their old way of speaking. But that's because they're looking for the final result when what they should be looking for is the first sign. The law doesn't work all at once. It works in stages. The moment you speak the sentence, something shifts in the invisible. You don't see it, but it's happening. Wheels start turning, forces start moving. Divine intelligence starts rearranging circumstances. And within 24 hours, you will see the first sign. Not the full manifestation. The first sign. And the sign might be subtle. It might be so small that if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it. It might be a shift in your feeling. You wake up and for the first time in weeks, you feel light. You feel hopeful. You don't know why, but something inside you has softened. That's the first sign. It might be a synchronicity. You think about someone and they call. You need information, and it shows up in a conversation. You're wondering how something will work out, and you overhear someone talking about the exact solution. That's the first sign. It might be a door, cracking open. Not the full door, just a crack. An email, a text, a phone call, an invitation, an idea. Something that makes you think, that's interesting timing. That's the first sign. And here's what you have to do when you see that first sign. You have to acknowledge it. You have to say, "Thank you. I see it, I receive it, keep it coming." Because when you acknowledge the first sign, you're telling the law, "Yes, I'm paying attention, I'm ready, bring the next one." And it will. The second sign will come. Then the third. Then the fourth. And each one will be a little bigger, a little clearer, until suddenly you look up and you realize your entire situation has changed. But if you dismiss the first sign, if you say, "That's just a coincidence, that's not real, that doesn't count," then you cut off the flow. You're telling the law, "No, I don't believe you, I'm going back to my old reality," and it will let you. The law never forces, it only responds. So your job in the next 24 hours is simple. Speak the sentence in the morning, then pay attention. Watch for the signs, acknowledge them when they come. And keep speaking as if it's already done. Don't slip back into "I'm waiting, I hope, maybe someday." Stay in the present tense. My good now appears. The perfect plan unfolds. Say it again tomorrow night. Say it the next morning. Say it every time fear comes. Say it every time doubt comes. Say it until it's no longer a sentence you're trying to believe. It's just the truth, you know. Now, I want to give you some very practical guidance because I know some of you are going to wake up tomorrow and you're going to feel resistance. You're going to stand in front of the mirror and you're going to open your mouth to say this sentence, and something inside you is going to say, "This is stupid, this isn't going to work. You're just lying to yourself." And I need you to be prepared for that voice so it doesn't stop you. That voice is not the voice of wisdom. That voice is not the voice of truth. That voice is the voice of your old identity, the one that's been in control for years, the one that's been speaking lack and limitation and delay. And that old identity is terrified right now because it knows if you start speaking this way, it's going to lose its power over you. So it's going to fight. It's going to tell you this is foolish. It's going to tell you nothing will change. It's going to tell you to go back to being realistic. But here's what I need you to remember. That old identity got you here. To this moment, to this struggle, to this limitation. It had its chance. It ran the show for years, maybe decades. And where did it get you? So when that voice comes, you don't argue with it. You don't fight it. You just say, "Thank you for sharing, but I'm speaking a new word now." And then you say the sentence anyway. You say it even if you don't believe it yet. You say it even if you feel foolish. You say it even if nothing in your visible world supports it, because you're not speaking to your visible world. You're speaking to the invisible realm where your good already exists. And the invisible realm doesn't care how you feel. It only cares what you say. Now let me give you the rest of the practice so you know exactly how to implement this starting tomorrow. First thing in the morning, before you do anything else, before you check your phone, before you talk to anyone, before you even get out of bed, I want you to say this sentence aloud. My good now appears. The perfect plan unfolds. Say it clearly, say it once. You don't have to shout it, you don't have to repeat it 50 times. Just say it with intention. as if you're announcing something that's already true in a dimension you're about to step into. Then, throughout the day, pay attention to your words. Every time you catch yourself saying something negative, stop mid-sentence. Don't beat yourself up. Don't spiral into shame. Just stop and say, I cancel that. My word is. And then say, the truth. For example, you start to say, I'm so overwhelmed. Stop. I cancel that. My word is, divine order is established in my mind and affairs. You start to say, I never have enough money. Stop. I cancel that. My word is, my supply is infinite and appears in perfect ways. This is the practice of substitution. You're not trying to stop negative thoughts. That doesn't work. You're replacing them. Every time you catch one, you substitute it with truth. And over time, the substitution becomes automatic. The truth becomes your default voice instead of the lie. Then, at night, before you go to sleep, do a clearing. Say this. I forgive everyone, and everyone forgives me. All negative thought forms are now dissolved. I sleep in peace and wake in power. This clears the energetic field. It releases resentment, which is a massive block to manifestation. And it sets you up to wake in a clear state the next morning, so you can speak your sentence from a clean slate. And here's the most important part. For the next 24 hours, do not speak against yourself. Not once. No, I'm so tired. No, I can't. No, this always happens to me. No, I never get what I want. If you catch yourself, substitute it immediately, but try not to say it in the first place. Guard your mouth like your life depends on it, because it does. Your life, your future, your good, all of it is shaped by what comes out of your mouth. And for one day, just one day, I want you to see what happens when you stop sabotaging yourself with your own words. Now some of you are thinking, okay, I can do this for a day, but what about next week? What about next month? Is this something I have to do forever? And the answer is, once you see the results, you won't want to go back. Once you watch your world start to shift, once you see doors opening, once you feel the change, you'll realize you never want to speak the old way again. It won't feel like a discipline. It will feel like freedom. But yes, this is a practice. This is a way of life. This is how you're meant to operate as a spiritual being in a physical world. You're meant to speak with authority. You're meant to command your good. You're meant to walk in dominion. And the more you do it, the easier it gets, the more natural it becomes, until one day you realize you're not even trying anymore. You're just living from the truth. Now let me address something that I know some of you are worried about. You're thinking, what if I say this sentence and nothing happens? What if tomorrow comes and goes and my life looks exactly the same? What if I speak and the law doesn't respond? And I want to be very clear with you about this because it's important. The law always responds. Always. There is no exception. The law is not a person who might ignore you or forget about you or decide you're not worthy. The law is a principle. Like gravity. You step off a building, you fall. You speak a word, it manifests. That's how reliable it is. So if you speak this sentence and you don't see any change, there are only two possible reasons. Either you're not looking in the right place, or you're speaking it while simultaneously speaking against it. Let me explain both. First, not looking in the right place. Remember, the first sign is usually subtle. It's not going to be $1 million in your bank account by noon tomorrow. It's going to be a feeling, a synchronicity, a small opening. If you're expecting the full manifestation and you're not watching for the small signs, you'll miss it. And when you miss it, you'll think nothing happened. But something did happen. You just weren't paying attention. Second, speaking against it. This is the more common problem. You say the sentence in the morning, my good now appears, the perfect plan unfolds. But then an hour later you're on the phone with a friend saying, nothing ever works out for me. Or you're thinking, I can't afford this. Or you're complaining, I'm so tired of waiting. And every one of those sentences is a counter command. You're speaking your good in the morning and then canceling it throughout the day. The law hears both, and it manifests whichever one you speak with more conviction. So, if you're going to do this, you have to be consistent. You have to guard your words all day. Not just in the morning. All day. And if you slip, you substitute immediately. You don't let the negative sentence sit there, you correct it. You say, I cancel that, my word is this, and then you keep going. Now I want to tell you one more story before we move toward the close, because I want you to see this from yet another angle. I knew a woman who was dealing with a health issue that doctors couldn't figure out. She'd been to specialist after specialist, test after test, and no one could tell her what was wrong or how to fix it. She was in pain every day. She was exhausted. She was losing hope. And the worst part was, every time someone asked her how she was doing, she would launch into the whole story. She would describe the symptoms in detail. She would list all the doctors who couldn't help her. She would talk about how frustrated and scared she was. And in doing so, she was reinforcing the condition every single time she spoke about it. When she came to me, I didn't ask her about the symptoms. I didn't ask about the doctors. I asked her one question. What do you say when people ask how you're feeling? And she told me the whole story, and I stopped her. I said, every time you tell that story, you're impressing the subconscious with the image of sickness. You're declaring, this is who I am, this is my identity. And the subconscious, which doesn't argue, says, okay, I'll keep you sick, that's what you want. She was shocked. She said, but I don't want to be sick. I said, I know you don't want to be sick, but you're speaking sickness, and your word is creating your experience, so we're going to change your word. From now on, when someone asks how you're feeling, you're going to say one sentence. I am healing. The perfect plan of health is unfolding in my body now. That's it. No details, no story, just that. She was resistant at first. She said, but people will think I'm crazy. They know I've been sick. And I said, let them think what they want. You're not speaking for them. You're speaking for your body. You're speaking for the law. You're commanding health. And when you do that consistently, the body has no choice but to respond. She agreed to try it. And it was hard for her at first because she was so used to telling the story. Every time someone asked, she'd start to launch into it, then catch herself and say, I am healing. The perfect plan of health is unfolding. And at first, nothing seemed to change, but she kept speaking it, day after day, morning and night, I am healing. 2 weeks later, she called me. She said, I don't know how to explain this, but the pain is almost gone. The doctors still don't know what was wrong, but I feel better than I've felt in months. And I said, the doctors don't need to know. Your body knows. The law knows. And the moment you stopped declaring sickness and started declaring health, the body began to rearrange itself to match your word. Within a month, she was completely symptom-free. And the doctors, who'd been so baffled, said it must have resolved on its own, and she just smiled. Because she knew it didn't resolve on its own. It resolved because she finally spoke the word that activated the healing that was always available to her. Now, I'm not telling you to ignore doctors. I'm not telling you to reject medical treatment. What I'm telling you is that your word works with or without medical intervention. Your word can speed healing. Your word can prevent illness. Your word is the most powerful medicine you have. And most people never use it. So whether it's health or wealth or relationships or opportunity, the principle is the same. Stop describing the problem. Start declaring the solution. Stop telling the story of your lack. Start announcing your supply. Stop rehearsing your delay. Start proclaiming your arrival. And watch what happens. Now we're coming into the home stretch here, and I want to make sure you have absolute clarity on what to do tomorrow morning and why it works. So let me give you the full sequence one more time, step by step, so there's no confusion. Tomorrow morning, the moment you wake up, before your feet hit the floor, say this aloud. My good now appears. The perfect plan unfolds. Say it clearly. Say it with intention. You're not wishing, you're not hoping. You're announcing. This is what's happening. This is the truth in the invisible realm, and I'm making it visible now with my word. Then, as you go through your day, be vigilant. Every time you catch yourself saying something that contradicts that truth, stop and substitute. Don't let a negative sentence just sit there. Correct it immediately. This is how you train the subconscious to obey your conscious command instead of running on autopilot. Then, at night, do your clearing. Forgive everyone. Release all negative thought forms. Go to sleep in peace, and the next morning, speak the sentence again. And keep doing this until speaking truth becomes more natural than speaking limitation. Until declaring your good becomes more automatic than describing your lack. Now, I know some of you are going to wake up tomorrow and you're going to feel fear, you're going to feel doubt. You're going to feel like this is too simple to work or too bold to be true. And when that happens, I want you to remember this. The law doesn't require your confidence. It doesn't require your certainty, it only requires your word. So even if you're scared, speak it. Even if you doubt, speak it. Even if you feel foolish, speak it. Because the moment that word leaves your mouth, the law goes to work. And the law doesn't fail. And here's the beautiful thing. The more you speak it, the more you'll start to feel it. The feeling follows the word. You don't wait for the feeling to speak the word. You speak the word, and the feeling catches up. This is the secret that most people get backwards. They say, I'll declare abundance when I feel abundant, I'll speak health when I feel healthy, but if you wait for the feeling, you'll wait forever. The feeling is a result, not a cause. The cause is your word. So tomorrow, you're starting a new way of living. You're stepping into a new identity. The identity of someone who speaks with authority, someone who knows their word creates their world, someone who doesn't beg or plead or wait for permission, someone who claims what's theirs and expects it to appear. And I promise you, if you do this consistently, if you guard your mouth, if you substitute every negative with truth, if you speak your good every morning and every night, your world will start to change. Not because you earned it, not because you deserved it more today than you did yesterday, but because you finally aligned your word with the law that's been waiting to serve you. Now, let me bring this to a close with one final thought. You've been living under a misunderstanding for most of your life. You thought your words were just sounds, just commentary, just expressions of how you feel or what you think. But I've shown you today that your words are far more than that. Your words are commands. They are instructions to the subconscious. They are signals to the universe. They are the architects of your experience. Every sentence you speak is either opening a door or closing one. And the sentence I gave you today, my good now appears, the perfect plan unfolds, is the master key. You don't have to believe it with perfect faith. You don't have to feel it with complete certainty. You just have to speak it clearly and consistently. And the universe, which operates by law, not by mood, will respond. By tomorrow, something will shift. Maybe small, maybe quiet, but it will be real. And if you continue speaking this way, not just once, but as a practice, as a new way of life, you'll look back in 30 days and barely recognize your circumstances, not because you worked harder, not because you got lucky, but because you finally learned to speak with authority. So here's the mantra I want you to carry with you. Say it with me now, in your mind or out loud. I am not waiting for my good is here. I speak it into visibility, I claim it now. Say that again, I am not waiting for my good is here. I speak it into visibility. I claim it now. Feel that shift in your chest. That's the law responding. That's the invisible realm recognizing your authority. That's your future rearranging itself to match your word. You're not broken. You've never been broken. You've just been speaking backwards. You've been describing your limitations instead of declaring your freedom. You've been announcing your delay instead of your arrival. But now you know, and now everything changes. If this resonated with you, if you felt something shift even while listening, I need you to do something for me. I need you to like this video. I need you to comment below and tell me the one thing you're going to stop saying and the one truth you're going to speak instead. Write it out. Declare it. And when you do, you activate the law not just for yourself, but for everyone who reads it. And I need you to subscribe to this channel because I'm going to keep teaching you these ancient laws, the ones that work, the ones that most people will never hear, the ones that can transform your entire life if you're willing to apply them. Your word is your wand. It's the most powerful tool you possess. Use it wisely. Use it boldly. Use it daily. And watch as the invisible becomes visible, as the impossible becomes inevitable, as your good, which has been waiting for you all along, finally appears. The perfect plan unfolds, and you are in it, right here, right now. Tomorrow morning, you're speaking a new sentence. And by tomorrow night, your future will have already begun to change.